and welcome to Into the Light. I'm your host, Edina Mauvana. Today we have Anita Adams. Anita is a coach and author fueled by pandemic insights. She guides individuals towards joy, purpose, and well being. Her forthcoming book, Whispers of the Soul, provides really valuable guidance, and listeners can also delve into her wisdom through the top ranked Joyful Journey podcast and her amazing Wisdom Way program, which fosters abundance, impact, and spiritual growth for her clients. Thank you so much, Anita. That's amazing. Thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you so much for inviting me to be on your show. This is just wonderful.
Oh, I'm so excited to have you because I was, just looking at all the things you do and reading some of your bios and some of the work around all of the things you're launching with the Wisdom Way program and the Whispers of the Soul. So, I'm excited to talk to you today about all kinds of things. Finding clarity in these changing times because I know I mentioned, you seem to have a lot of pandemic insights and what's going on with the world right now. So yeah, I'm just excited to have you and delve into all these areas.
Awesome. Awesome. Yay.
Okay, great. So, I wanted to just ask you, I know you have your Whispers of the Soul book. Is that what you're kind of focused on? How tell me a little bit about where that book came from and how you started on, this journey.
Yeah, thanks. It's a little bit of a story, and I'll try to give it to you in a nutshell. I guess you could call it my former life. I was the founder and executive director of a national arts organization that promoted Canadian film and talent, and I ran that business for 18 years. And then the pandemic came, and
Mm.
all of a sudden, all of my partners pulled out. All of my funding was gone, and I was responsible for my staff and for the maintenance of this company and all the responsibilities that it had and that we had committed to as an organization. And I was feeling incredibly overwhelmed. I've never felt so anxious in my life. It
Mm.
was the worries of the what was happening in the world was one thing, and then what was happening in my personal life was like just this big pile, messy pile. I became this messy pile. I was so stressed out. And I was constantly asking, what am I supposed to do? This is my question to everybody, to the universe. What am I supposed to
Mm.
do? And I brought that question to my business coach. And she asked me, well, Anita, what do you typically do when you're really stressed out? And I'm like,
Mm.
well, I usually go for a walk in the forest. And she's like, perfect. Here's what you're going to do. For the next 30 days, every day, you are going to go for a walk in the forest. And I'm like, what? I can't do that. I don't have time for
No
something like
time.
that.
Yeah.
And in my head, I'm thinking, what kind of business coach tells her client to go for a walk in the forest? I need business advice, not nature therapy, right? But she somehow manages to get a commitment out of me. So the only way I could make this work was by going first thing in the morning at the crack of
Mm.
dawn before anybody else was up, and I would be marching down to the forest. Mosquito Creek Park was the park in my backyard practically, and it's just me and the birds and the occasional coyote. And I was the same thing. I was demanding of the universe, what am I supposed to do? And that was my mantra every day. And something interesting started to happen slowly, not like right away, but slowly over the weeks that I was going down into the forest. I started to feel calmer, and I started to connect with my environment, and I started to actually fall in love with this beautiful surroundings. And I was actually feeling grateful to my business coach for getting me out and starting my day like this. And in this new elevated state of awareness and appreciation and love for my environment, I put out that same question, what am I supposed to do? And that's when I heard it, a whisper, a whisper. It was my voice. It was, but it was like an older, wiser version of me. And it just said, what do you want to do? And I'm like, what? Like, what do you mean, what do I want to do? What am I supposed to do? No, Anita, the question is, what do you want to do?
Mm.
And that stumped me. It totally stumped me. And later that day, I found myself in the bookstore in the spirituality section, and there
Mm.
was a book that caught my eye. It was Conversations with God by
Yeah.
Donald
Neil
Walsh.
Deal I have that, yeah.
Oh, I've read it 3 times now.
Oh
Actually,
my gosh,
I love
yeah,
that book.
yeah, and they do so much good work with, like, humanities team and all of that,
Yeah.
that for human consciousness, yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. Well, his words really resonated with me, and there was
Mm,
just one line that I that it felt like it leapt off the page that day while I was sitting in the bookstore. And it was this one thing. It said, "Frustration and anxiety come from not listening to the soul."
mm,
And I realized I wasn't listening to my soul. I wasn't tuning in. I was so focused on what was going on out here and in my world that I wasn't really connecting with what was important to me, what I really
mhm,
wanted. And so I made it my mission to figure out how to connect with that part of myself. And
mm.
over the next several weeks, I continued every day going into the forest and
Nature,
trying to
yes,
figure out what the formula is to connect
right.
with that self. And then I discovered it. I discovered what it really is. And I practically said it already. It was getting present with my
Mm,
environment, feeling gratitude, and just getting really connected. And in that calmness where you don't have that monkey noise going on up here all the time in your head, you can really tune into your body and tune into your
mm,
soul. And that's,
that's so important.
there you go. There's my
Yes.
story.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I love it. That gave me so much background, and I love the theme obviously of being in nature, and I know that your book is about nature being this portal to your higher self. So it sounds like you were connecting to your intuition and our higher self, version of ourselves that's trying to that we're trying to access. I always talk to guests about their vibration and their energy frequency, and how we're in alignment and trying to tune into our intuition and have that communication. So that's such an important part of that spiritual experience, and just uh going into nature. I mean, I have been watching, like, on, I don't know if you've seen it on Netflix, like the earthing. There's a documentary about grounding and earthing and
Mm,
walking barefoot, and how it regulates our nervous system, and
that's cool.
helps. That's what you were saying. It sounds like from anxiety. So just I keep hearing, like, nature is the best medicine, right? That just
Yeah.
reminds me of that. So and that's great how you said it came from your business coach. Like, you were obviously being directed in what was, like, you needed most in your life, and like
Absolutely.
self-care and all of that. So tell me a little bit about, like, what you give as tips for people who want to focus on their self-care. Like, why is it important to do this work, and where does that take us on our spiritual journey?
Yeah, great. You said something earlier about raising the vibration, right? And
Yes.
so, yeah, and that's it. That's really important. If we want to connect with our higher self, if we
Hmm.
want to feel good, if we want to experience more joy in our life, we need to raise our
Right.
vibration.
Yeah.
And what happens when we're in that higher vibrational frequency is we end up taking inspired action towards the
Mm-hmm.
goals that we want to create for our lives. So
Right.
there's so many important reasons to create that state of higher vibrational energy, frequency, emotions. And
Right.
there's for me and for many, being in nature is simply just one way of doing it. And I find it a very productive way to increase your vibrational energy because it doesn't require you to sit still, and some
Hmm.
people, myself included, I've
We need to
had
move.
challenges.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And that you hear a lot of people talking about meditation and the value of meditation, but meditation is a fabulous way to raise your vibration and quiet your mind. However, it's not easy for a lot of people,
Yeah.
and it wasn't easy for me. me, and especially if you
Mm.
have a lot going on in your life, a lot of anxiety or just the daily stressors. Getting into nature can
Mhm.
be the quicker, easier access to that higher self and that raised vibration. And
Definitely.
there's like joy, awe, and love are three very high vibrational frequencies. And I find all those three things when I go for a walk in nature. I
Mhm.
find a deeper love for my environment, which then spills over for a love for self, which opens and expands your heart, and you're able to receive and hear the messages of, the divine or God or your higher self, whatever your word is for it, intuition, whatever, right? You
Yeah.
have to have an open receptor, and that's your heart, which opens when you're
Mm.
in a state of awe or state of joy or state of love. So my main tip, my big push, if you will, is to encourage people to get out into nature.
Yeah.
Try to do it daily if you can. Science has backing the um, improving the benefits of time
Mhm.
in nature. In fact, science is now saying that 120 minutes a week is what the threshold is, the point where you start to experience the benefits of nature. Now
Mhm.
that can be 120 minutes a week in one go, or you can
Mhm.
break that up into like 17, 18 minutes a day, or however you want. I personally think the best benefits come from a daily practice. So that's what
Yeah.
I encourage.
Amazing. Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to get out into nature more. And like you said, I also have a challenge sitting still in meditation. And I definitely prefer like movement. I've been doing, a lot of yoga, Pilates,
Yeah.
ascension exercises that I post online and things that I'm doing in nature as much as possible. And it makes a huge difference in our emotional state of, just feeling joyful and trying to create that space and that pause time to not have things running through our head all the time or be like in go 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 mode. And it's just it's so important. So, and I like what you said earlier. What did you call it? The inspired action.
Yeah.
So yeah, how does that work? What do you really create there with who you work with, your clients? Are you talking about how can we like understand that concept and then
Sure.
have results in our life from this
Yeah,
from
that's
this
what we
stuff.
want. We want
Yeah, we
results,
want
right?
results. What are we doing
Exactly.
here?
Yeah. Well, have you ever felt low during the day, like you got up and you just didn't feel, weren't happy for whatever reason. It's really
Yeah,
hard to move forward with a vision when you're in that state of mind,
lower
right?
state. Yes, your
Yeah, yeah.
fears
So
and
yeah,
anxiety.
exactly. Or just, yeah, you have this low energy state. So what happens in a low energy state is that we take either frustrated action or
Right.
frustrated inaction. And both of those have consequences, and they don't move you further along on your journey, or they'll move you very slowly along on your journey.
Mm,
However,
mhm.
when you have inspired action, then you're moving your vision further along, because you're being more creative, you're energized, you're excited, you have deeper belief in yourself, and that inspired action comes from self-care, from time. For me, it's time in nature, and I keep going back. For me, it's time in nature. For a lot of people, it's time in nature, but you can find that inspired action by finding ways of taking care of yourself. And a big part of it is unplugging from the craziness of the world, of the pings and the pangs and all the stuff that's going on with, being connected to your computer, and
Yeah.
stepping away, doing something that brings you joy.
Right.
That's
Right.
what it comes down to. Finding
Yeah,
things.
some people like dancing or
Yeah.
singing or yeah, other forms of just energy
Yeah.
um yeah, in our
and it
bodies. So yeah.
and it raises your vibration, gets you into an inspired state, and then you are going to see creative solutions to problems. You're going to have great ideas about how to move forward. You're going to believe in the possibilities for yourself, so you are literally stepping into inspired action, and you move forward with your goals much faster. So this
Right.
is this
Yeah.
is how I work with my clients. I do something really, it's so ridiculously simple, and I love the simplicity of it because it really makes a big difference. And I think some people at first, kind of like my business coach, she's like, and I'm like, you're telling me to go for a walk in nature? What kind of business coach does that? Well, I tell my clients to do something called joy spotting. And joy spotting is such a simple, beautiful concept where you just take the time to notice what brings you joy. Like just it's just a moment, it's like seeing a dog run across the field with its
Hmm.
its tongue lolling and its tail wagging, like that brings me joy, or listening to children in the park laughing. That I notice it and I'm like, oh, that I love that laugh. Or somebody tells me a joke at the cashier, checkout. And these are little moments of joy. And at the end of each day, what I guide my clients to do is have a journal by their bed, their joy journal, and simply write out what were the moments today that brought me joy. And this is a beautiful way to raise your vibration, but it also helps you to recognize the things that are important to you, and it can
Hmm.
help guide you down. I call them the spiritual breadcrumbs. You're picking up spiritual breadcrumbs
Hmm.
by noticing what brings you joy, and that's taking you down a path to where you are going to create the best version of you if you're paying attention to what brings you joy.
Yes,
Oh,
totally. Well, like I've heard it described, or we've talked to people talk about the flow state, and being in this elevated consciousness where, you're feeling these joyful vibes, you're reflecting, you're in gratitude, and it's like you described it as a closeness, or like, you feel closer to your higher self and your consciousness. And it's like I think of it as a connection to God, like I don't know if you have that belief system, but do you feel like that's really a true, like, you called it the spiritual breadcrumbs. Do you feel like this is what really like takes us towards whatever our belief system is around God? And is that what it's done for you?
for me, for sure.
Yeah.
Some of my clients are not religious per se. They don't
Mm-hmm.
necessarily believe in God. I think they can still benefit from this practice. But for me, it is definitely a spiritual journey that takes me closer to God and all that is, and that's my belief.
Mm-hmm.
God is part of me. I'm part of God. We're all part of one. We're this
Right.
massive, beautiful, big one being.
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely. It's a spiritual journey to my highest, best self. You know.
Right, right. Like we talk about unity consciousness, or,
Yeah.
being part of that collective, and
Mm.
everything being connected in that way. So, I love that. It's beautiful. I come from a Muslim background, so I'm always interested to talk to people about how, these practices align spiritually or religiously, and all of that, because I find it to be really interesting the way that, we have alignment, and you don't, it's not contradictory to other beliefs or spiritual traditions in any way. And so it sounds like you work with, clients from all different backgrounds and religions and things like that. Can you tell me a little bit about like what kind of like transformative result, like things that they're doing? Like, are they, I mean, we always talk about stepping into your best and highest self life, and, achieving this connection, but what does that really look like when you're doing the work with clients?
Yeah, thank you for asking. It really depends on what the client is trying to achieve, obviously.
Mm,
I
yeah.
take a very holistic approach to my coaching. So I really believe that if you're out of alignment in one area in your life, then it's going to affect all areas. So
Mm,
nothing's off the table when a client comes to me. So
mm,
we'll look at your spiritual well-being, your mental, emotional, physical, financial, relational, and creative being your work well-being. So they all work together. They all work
and yeah,
together.
yeah.
So as far as finding results, what a lot of my clients are come to me with is they have an idea of where they want to be, and they have a persona of who they believe they are, and often the two don't don't match. And
Right.
so our goal, our work together is how do we bridge the gap? How do we go from where I am right now and the person I am right now to being this other person, this other create this life that I really want to create. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of times what's missing is the confidence, the belief in self to get there. Sometimes what's missing is simply to just they're not even clear what they really want. They just know that they're unhappy in what's going on right now. So we will take time to evaluate, well, where are we out of alignment with who we really are? So
Right.
there's I call it there's three pillars that I work with, and it's a look, listen, learn approach. So kind of try to
Mm-hmm.
keep it simple. Looking inward is the first work that we do. Always looking inward to understand who you really are and what you really want. Then developing the listening skills to tune in to listen to that inner wisdom or intuition, or again, whatever your word is for that. And then the third part is leaning in and trusting that inner wisdom to learn what you need to learn to be the person or create the life you want to create. So it's a journey, and that's what I call the wisdom way. That's the wisdom way
Wisdom way. Yeah.
program that I teach, which is look, listen, learn, the three pillars to creating the life that you really want to create, that is aligned
Okay.
with who you truly were born to be.
Yeah, I love that. And how long, I mean, I know we talk about how some of this stuff takes a lot of time, right? Because I know for me, and when I talk about the spiritual journey process, there's a lot of turmoil that tends to start to happen because a lot of it is surfacing our interpersonal relationships and our
Mhm.
careers, and things are being like, swept up from underneath us when we have a redirect. And so tell me about how long this process takes, or what the program was like looking like, or what you usually see, because people will be going through this for, months and years sometimes, and they don't know what's going on. And I love coaching because I know that's why it provides that level of support, and
Yeah.
really fostering that, those transitions. But yeah, tell me a little bit about what you see as far as like how long the program takes, or where we
Right.
go with this.
So my programs are 3, 6, and 12 months, but I've had
Hmm.
clients that want to stick with me longer as well. So
Yeah.
it's because as you grow and develop, you start to see more areas where you can push the boundaries, push
Mm.
your comfort zone, and continue to grow. Do we ever stop growing? Really?
It's
Right?
always, yeah. It's
Yeah.
like always
So
a process.
yeah, and it really depends on where you're at. Like I don't want to work with anybody for less than 3 months because I don't think you can
Mm.
see any real transformation in anything under 3 months. Within 3 months, you should have, if you're clear about what it is that you want. And that's the other thing. A lot of people they're just not clear about what they
Mm.
want, and it takes time working together to find that clarity. And then once you find the clarity, then you can map out the strategy on how to get to where you ultimately want to get. So it's really individual. I have some clients that are so keen and they do the work, and I find they're so fun working with these clients because they're like sponges. They eat it up, and they want to grow. And then I've had a couple clients that I think they felt like they should be doing something, but they're not really super motivated for the
Mm.
personal growth or the spiritual growth. So it's slower. It's slower. But the ones that are keen and really have a something that they're striving for, they do the work and they see progress
Mm.
faster. So.
Where do people struggle most in this process? Like, where do you see where we find like generally the biggest challenge?
Self-love.
Mm. Isn't that
Yeah.
always the
It is,
the best and worst answer?
yeah, it's so interesting. It really is. And that kind of surprised me. But it didn't, because that was my thing too.
Mm.
Like I didn't, it was my lack of love for self that
Mm.
prevented me from achieving certain things in my life, from moving forward with things. When you have a deep love of self, that's when you become unshakable.
Mm. Mhm.
Unshakable. So that I invest a lot of time with my clients on that. Sometimes I don't spell it out as self-love, but
Yeah.
ultimately it's about becoming unshakable. And the only way to become unshakable is by having a really strong foundation of love for self. And that's how we create a better world too. When we love ourselves, if we love ourselves deeply, there's no room for hate for
Mm,
anybody, right?
right.
So it starts there. And I feel very driven to help people find that love for self. Um,
Right. And it's like we every day, we might even have daily examples that come up where we're tested, right? Where we have to, like for me, I've been having a turbulent week. I've been dealing with issues with, custody and all kinds of things.
mm,
And, sometimes like I felt a lot better this last time because I feel like, oh, I could have done this better. And, you look back and you should have done that. And then you
mm,
didn't miss, you missed this. And, instead of like banging myself up about it. I just instead I'm like, I did the best. I love what I did. It was good. It was the best I could have done. And like you just have this general response of different like just it takes you out of that lower state, that real
exactly.
angst, like things are going wrong. I didn't do it. I should have done this and beat myself up. And
Right.
it's like it's so important to be like, no, I did good. That was pushing me. And like maybe I recognize where I have weaknesses, and I'm actually grateful that I'm aware of that now. And it's like this is coming as a, life happens for you, not to you kind of response that we start learning all the time, even when we're in these stressful environments,
Absolutely. And I think that's a
Yeah.
really great awareness to have that life happens for me, not to me. And
Yeah.
when you have that mindset, you can look at difficult situations and ask what is mine to learn from this? Where
What
can
am
I
I here to
grow?
learn from? Yeah. Like what did
Yeah,
I
and where is the gift? There's always a gift somewhere. It might come later, but there's a gift somewhere, and that gift is in that the expansion of your beingness,
Mm,
possibly or wherever. So, but yeah, and
totally.
and when we are able to shift the thoughts. So awareness is the very first thing, right? Having the
Right.
awareness of that negative thought, and then you can shift the thought and choose a different thought because your thoughts will dictate your results. 100% dictate your results. So,
Right.
that's a lot of the work that we do is identifying thoughts and then working with a client to choose a different thought that's going to
Hmm.
lead to a different outcome. So,
Right. I hear a lot about that time, it's almost like becoming not becoming responsive versus reactive. And I've heard it described as, I mean, people talk about regulating their nervous system and, finding space before taking action and becoming more neutral observer when that's happening. So, I really, that sounds like such important work. And is that something you also talk to your clients about? Are they able to kind of regulate and then
yeah.
have improvement in anxiety and stress and things like that in their life?
Yeah, actually, and I'll share a really simple little technique. It's such an easy one to remember and practice. It's called the
Yeah.
stop technique.
Okay.
And so if something is happening in life that you're feeling rattled, it could be, an argument with your partner or your kids are doing something that's totally pissing you off, or something happens at work, whatever. Like you're just
Yeah.
feeling, like you're ready to explode or whatnot. So the stop technique is it's an acronym. Stop what you're doing, take 3 deep breaths, observe what is going on around you, but most importantly, observe what's happening within you. And then P is proceed with love. What would love choose to do in this moment? Proceed with
Yeah,
love.
not your ego, lower rage
Yeah,
self, right?
yeah,
Sometimes I'm challenged in that department, so I get it because
yeah.
what would love do right now?
Yeah. And yeah, exactly. But even if you just got to the take 3 deep breaths and that would make a difference.
It does.
Like
It really
it
does.
just needs that little bit of space
Mm.
to calm your neutral system and your nervous system, and then you can move forward. But if you can get
Yeah.
to the P to proceed with love, you are golden.
Oh my gosh. Well, I love that you have all of these like techniques and tips and
Yeah.
tricks because it sounds like, these are daily things that we want to incorporate in our life. And I what I like about your work is it sounds like you mentioned holistic and like there's a lot of different ways. It's like not just a one size fits all approach, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, I love that because people sounds like they can come to you and wherever they're at and whatever their like interests are. And then like I like to think of it like, bringing out those best qualities or whatever they enjoy most. And then like your coach did for you, just to do that every day, right? At least you can start with that, right? That's the first
Yeah.
step.
Yeah. And I think the simplicity is really key. If you try to make it too difficult,
Mm.
it's really hard to change if the task is a difficult one, right?
Right. And what do you say to people when they're like, I would love to do this work, but I just have too much going on? Like, I mean, it's even hard to carve out, like you said, to get that nature walk in. Like, what do you best recommend, when someone is just having a really hard time with just too much going on to try and do this work right now?
Yeah, yeah, that's a good question. So what I do a couple things, or I encourage a couple things. One is to get my clients to time block, to take an
Hmm.
inventory. This takes a little bit of effort actually to do an inventory of where you're actually spending your time, and then make the things that like a walk for yourself, or maybe it's a 10-minute yoga practice or a 20-minute meditation, whatever it may be. Make it a non-negotiable and put it into your calendar,
Calendar,
because
right.
these little activities, like it seems like, how am I going to fit that in? But the reality is they will make you more productive, and
Right.
they will, and that's what you
That's
ultimately
key.
want. Like it is key, and it sounds counterintuitive to take time away from doing my work to go for a walk. But again, studies have proven the productivity levels of people when they unplug from being on a computer all day and move their body, when they come back and work on their stuff, they get a lot more done. So,
Yes.
I think you have to experience that to really believe it. And then once you do, you will start making that regular commitment. And in the meantime, just make it a non-negotiable. Block out, go through your calendar and say, okay, I can fit in 20 minutes here, at the beginning I'm going to get up 20 minutes earlier so I can make this work. And that's all you need really, is 20 minutes of time doing this. And you
Yeah.
don't have to go into, like, I'm talking specifically now about nature walks. You don't have to go
Mhm.
into the forest to get the benefits. You can walk around your neighborhood and still
Yeah,
get the,
neighborhood. Yeah,
yeah,
trees, flowers. It's
yeah.
all goodness. Yeah.
Exactly. Or, do 20 minutes of gardening, or
I
whatever.
love that.
Like
Yeah,
just being outside, away from your computer, away from the chaos, connecting with Mother Earth will have incredible benefits for you.
totally. Yeah, or take a pet outside. I have a little hamster, my
Mm.
son's hamster. His name is Zumi. And yeah, I post up him sometimes, but he has a little harness that he's like really, it's just time to go out there. I water some plants and keep an eye on him. And then so
Awesome.
that was one of my techniques this year. I love it. Because
Awesome. I love
it's
it.
true. We have to really time block, and that also helps us in other ways on our spiritual journey too, because a lot of people struggle with structure and taking action and implementing things every day. And so I feel like it helps the whole 360 of us when we're doing this work. And
Yeah.
it's kind of like we're seeing more and more focus. I love what you mentioned about it being like the science backed, like, and that's just not like, oh, 30% of things or 60%. It's like, really, no, this is everyone is benefiting. And like from the pandemic, you have obviously that created a whole, mental health crisis that we're all dealing with on some level. So yeah, this is like, these are the solutions more and more that we're seeing that people need to do. So I just love that.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And I also think of it like I talk all to my guests on the show about like the spiritual awakening. And like you did in the beginning, it's kind of we connected to this, elevating and improving the states of human consciousness as a collective, right? So, I feel like we're all here doing this work, and collectively with the unity consciousness improving our vibration and part of our ascension process and all of that. So
Yeah.
yeah, like law of attraction and all everything going on in the that we
It
learn about in the universe.
Yeah, it does. It seems like more and more people are having these kind of conversations, which I find really exciting. I feel the evolution. Like I feel like
Hmm.
we are evolving and growing, and more people are expanding. That the heart centers are expanding,
Right.
I'm seeing it with my children. Like they're so much more confident and grounded and advanced than I
Totally.
was at their age. And I'm like, I think that's a sign of us as a species evolving.
Evolving. Yes. I like to think of it because, like, I know as a parent, I have two kids, and I just feel very honed in on the fact that if nothing else, our goal is to, not do generational trauma, or like move the trauma down to further generations in whatever way. And I feel like at the very least, we're all doing that, because we realize that our parents might have done this and like how it impacted us. So, that's just that was the start of my a lot of my healing journey, was like, oh, how was my childhood, whatever. We all get go down that path eventually. I feel like how we're impacted, and then and then creating spaces for this healing work, and everything that we're doing. So yeah, I love this. And yeah, Anita, so I know that you talked about your program, The Wisdom Way. Your book is Whispers of the Soul. Is there any other, final words of wisdom or final thoughts you'd like to share with our audience before we wrap up on all these wonderful topics?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, really, I think we talked a little bit about it already. It's just focusing on growing the love for self. And what does that mean for you? What are some self-love activities that you can do?
Mhm.
And just like take a few minutes to identify what those things are, to work on nurturing
Mhm.
your soul, your soul care. And I have I think I don't know if you and I talked about this, but I've got a free download of some stuff that
Oh yeah.
we talked about. A lot of the stuff that we talked about today, but there's a few more nuggets in there that might be enjoyable for your listeners. And
Yeah.
they can find that at joyfuljourney.ca.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of little gifts that I send to people to help them on their journey of becoming their best self and creating a life of love and meaning and joy. So,
Amazing. Yes, that's what we all want. I love it. So, I know you mentioned the website, and what about on social media? Is there any places people like to follow you, or, that you like to post and get the word out on everything that you do?
yeah, I'm on Facebook and on Instagram and on TikTok too. Wow, geez, I'm on TikTok
Yes,
too.
we all start. I just recently, I don't know. I think I'm in like the prison or whatever. Because I'm not getting.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. That
What did you
TikTok is.
do?
I'm just trying to figure it out. I'm trying to.
Yeah, yeah, so
Yeah,
fun.
I get it. That's so funny. Well, yeah,
I'm,
awesome.
I'm
We'll have
Anita Adams on those platforms, so you can
Anita
just
Adams.
find
Yeah,
me there. I think it might be Anita
straightforward.
Adams 604. I'll
Oh
give you.
my gosh.
Do you have show notes and stuff? We can throw
Yeah,
it in
I'm gonna
there.
have.
Yeah.
I'll
Okay.
have. We'll have all of the links posted to your website and to your
Awesome.
socials on the show notes. Yeah, so that'll be a great place for people to go and get the free downloads, because that's always helpful. To have some free resources and
Yeah.
get some of this information and help for free. So yeah, I just love that, Anita. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure
Yeah.
having you today.
Yeah, thank you. I feel like it was an inspired conversation that you led. So thank you so much. The energy, I feel the energy. The vibration is high. There we go.
Yeah, well, I feel like we all need this work, and we all come in at different points and with different backgrounds and perspectives and spiritual journeys and practices, and like everyone has their own unique offer and what they're bringing to the world right now. And this work is really about embracing that, and obviously coaching and having the help along the way, and also working with different healers and practitioners with all different kinds of modalities and backgrounds. And that's what I enjoy. I enjoy learning about what everyone does, and doing this work to collectively and
Yeah,
finding those common ground themes. So I
it's
love it.
awesome. Me too.
Oh my gosh, Anita, and I'm so excited to be on your show. I think next week we're going to schedule that out. So thank you for being here today. I'm so excited, and yeah, I can't wait to have you in the future.
Awesome. Likewise.
All
Thank
right,
you.
Anita. Thank you so much. Have a good day. Bye bye.
Bye.